Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Monday the 24th of April 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down just a touch to 7,322 points. It was a fairly quiet day on the bourse with many enjoying a 4-day weekend. The real estate investment trusts did best while technology and healthcare stocks also outperformed. The materials index was the worst on the day. Now the big iron ore miners were the standouts, but not for good reason. As the price of iron ore fell, Fortescue Metals and Rio's share price both slumped more than 3%, while BHP was down nearly 2%. The banks were mixed and the retailers generally higher. Story number 2, the government's Defence Strategic Review was released today. It's put a focus on long-range strike weapons, culled or cut back nearly 30 current programs, and boosted the defence spending over the next 10 years. Under the proposals in the review, defence spending will rise above 2% of GDP over the next decade. Defence is already one of the big budget items, worth around $48 billion a year, along with interest payments on debt, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, health and aged care. But the review says the full cost of the recommendations won't be able to be fully quantified for some time. It does recommend buying more off-the-shelf items with less focus on building locally. The review is critical of the defence budget management of the former government, saying it left behind $42 billion in defence funding over the next decade that wasn't paid for. Story number 3, Labor leads the coalition 56 to 44% on a two-party preferred basis, according to the Australian's latest news poll. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's approval rating fell 3 points to 53%, the lowest since he became PM, while his dissatisfaction rating rose 2 points to 37%. Peter Dutton's approval rating fell 2 points to 33%, the lowest level since he became Liberal leader. There was a 4-point increase in people dissatisfied with his performance, that's Dutton's performance, to 52%. In terms of preferred PM, Albanese fell 4 points to 54%, while Dutton rose 2 to 28%. Labor's primary vote remains at 38%. The Liberal Nationals' combined support is at 33%. Support for the Greens rose 1 point to 11%, and One Nation's at 7%, while support for independents and other minor parties remains around 11%. Story number 4, diversified miner South32 has lowered its production guidance for the financial year across most of the commodities it produces, sending its share price down 7%. South32's share price at one point was down 10% today after it said production of silver, lead and zinc had tumbled during the March quarter. Output of coal, alumina and nickel also fell. The miner blamed adverse weather and other temporary impacts. Now, South32 operates globally. It mines alumina in Mozambique, silver and lead in Queensland, nickel in Colombia and coal in New South Wales. Bit of a shocker all round, really. And finally, story number 5, around 180 S&P 500 companies, including half of the top 30 companies in the Dow Jones Index, are scheduled to report results for the first quarter this week. It will very much dictate Wall Street and the local market to some extent, with concerns around whether the slowing US economy has yet started to eat into earnings. The first quarter earnings season for the S&P 500 is off to a better start relative to the last 2 quarters, according to analysts, even though the number of companies reporting positive earnings per share surprises and the magnitude of these earnings surprises are actually below their 5-year averages. Of the near 20% that have reported so far, earnings are about nearly 6% above estimates. That's below the 5-year average of more than 8%. That's it for the afternoon report for Monday, the 24th of April, 2023. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Tuesday edition of Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening. That's it for the afternoon report for Monday, the 24th of April, 2023. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.